Hey Force fans, welcome back to The Force Fiction. Today we're diving into an epic Star Wars tale that reimagines the galaxy under the rule of Anakin Skywalker and Padmé Amidala. What happens when their love reshapes the stars, forging a new order from the ashes of the Republic? Expect thrilling battles, political intrigue, and a galaxy teetering between unity and rebellion. Buckle up, hit that subscribe button, and let's explore this bold new vision of the Force together. In a galaxy far, far away, where the stars whispered secrets of fate, a new dawn emerged from the ashes of the Clone Wars. The Republic had crumbled, its ideals shattered by betrayal and ambition. Yet where many saw only chaos, two figures stood united, their love forging a path that would reshape the cosmos. Anakin Skywalker, once the chosen one destined to bring balance, and Padmé Amidala, the voice of reason and compassion, had defied the tides of destiny. Together they seized control of the galaxy, not as tyrants, but as architects of a bold new order. This is the story of their reign, a tale of unity, sacrifice, and the shadows that threaten even the brightest dreams. The Coruscant sky burned crimson as the twin suns dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows over the glittering spires of the galactic capital. The Senate building, once a beacon of democracy, now stood as the heart of the Galactic Union, a new government forged in the aftermath of Palpatine's defeat. The Sith Lord's machinations had been undone, not by the Jedi, but by the very man he sought to corrupt. Anakin Skywalker stood on the balcony of the newly christened Unity Palace, his black robes fluttering in the evening breeze. His eyes, no longer clouded by the yellow taint of the dark side, scanned the cityscape. The scars of the Clone Wars were still visible, crumbling towers, charred landing platforms, but the air hummed with a cautious hope. Beside him, Padmé Amidala, now High Chancellor of the Galactic Union, adjusted the delicate silver circlet on her brow. Her gown, a blend of Naboo elegance and Coruscant pragmatism, shimmered under the city lights. "Do you ever wonder if we made the right choice?" Anakin asked, his voice low, almost lost in the hum of distant speeders. Padmé turned to him, her dark eyes steady. "Every day! But the Republic was broken, Anakin. The Jedi were blind, the Senate corrupt. We had to act, or the galaxy would have burned." He nodded, though a flicker of doubt crossed his face. The memories of that fateful day still haunted him. The moment he turned on Palpatine, lightsaber igniting not in service to the Sith, but to protect the woman he loved. The Jedi Council had branded him a traitor, accusing him of ambition. Obi-Wan Kenobi, his former master, had pleaded with him to step back from the edge. But Anakin had chosen Padmé, chosen their vision of a galaxy united not by bureaucracy or dogma, but by strength and compassion. The cost had been steep. The Jedi Order was scattered, its survivors in hiding. Obi-Wan had vanished, leaving only a cryptic message about balance. The clones, reprogrammed to serve the Union, patrolled the galaxy under Anakin's command, and yet the people had rallied to their cause. Planets weary of war saw hope in the Skywalker-Amidala alliance, a partnership that promised stability without oppression. "We've built something new," Padmé said, placing a hand on his arm. "But it's fragile. The galaxy is watching us, Anakin. We can't afford to fail." He turned to her, his expression softening. "As long as we're together, we won't." Their moment was interrupted by a soft chime from Padmé's comlink. She activated it, and a hologram of Captain Typho, her loyal security chief, flickered into view. "High Chancellor General Skywalker," Typho said, his tone urgent. "We've received reports of unrest on Ryloth. The Twi'lek clans are refusing to pledge loyalty to the Union, and there are rumors of a separatist holdout stirring dissent." Anakin's jaw tightened. "Separatists? I thought we crushed their remnants at Mustafar." "So did we," Typho replied. "But our scouts report a new leader rallying the clans. They call her the Voice of Freedom." Padmé's brow furrowed. Ryloth was a Republic ally. Why would they turn against us now? "Fear," Anakin said darkly. "They see our strength and think it's tyranny. We need to show them otherwise." Padmé nodded. "Prepare a diplomatic envoy, Captain. I'll lead it myself." Anakin's eyes widened. "Padmé!" "No. If there's a separatist cell, it's too dangerous." She met his gaze, unyielding. "I'm not a queen hiding in a palace, Anakin. I'm the High Chancellor. The Twi'leks need to see that we listen, not just command." He wanted to argue, but the fire in her eyes silenced him. Instead, he said, "Then I'm coming with you." The Resolute, A refitted Venator-class Star Destroyer cut through the hyperspace lanes toward Ryloth. In the ship's command center, Anakin and Padme reviewed intelligence reports alongside their advisors. Captain Typho, Admiral Yularen, and Ahsoka Tano, Anakin's former Padawan, who had returned to their side after the Jedi Purge. Ahsoka's presence was a bittersweet comfort. She had been skeptical of the Galactic Union at first, wary of Anakin's growing power, but Padme's vision, and her own disillusionment with the Jedi, had swayed her. Now she served as a bridge between the Union's military might and its diplomatic heart. The Twi'lek resistance is centered in the city of Lesu, Ahsoka said, pointing to a holographic map. The voice of freedom is reportedly a Twi'lek woman named Numa. She fought in the Clone Wars as a child and has become a symbol of defiance. Numa? Padme murmured, recalling the young girl who had aided Republic forces years ago. She's not a separatist. She's a survivor. If we can reach her, we can avoid bloodshed. Anakin's hand rested on his lightsaber hilt. And if she's working with separatists, we'll deal with them. Ahsoka shot him a look. Snips, I know that tone, she said, using her old nickname for him. This isn't a battlefield. It's a negotiation. He smirked, but there was no malice in it. I'll let Padme do the talking. I'm just here to make sure no one tries anything stupid. The Resolute dropped out of hyperspace, and Ryloth's rugged landscape filled the viewport. The planet's deserts and canyons were starkly beautiful, but the tension in the air was palpable. As their shuttle descended toward Lesu, Anakin felt a disturbance in the Force, a ripple of anger and fear, but also something deeper, something familiar. The landing platform was guarded by Twi'lek warriors, their blasters lowered but ready. At their head stood Numa, now a woman in her 20s, her green skin marked with scars of war. Her eyes were fierce, but there was a wisdom in them that belied her youth. High Chancellor Amidala, Numa said, her voice steady. General Skywalker, welcome to Ryloth. I hope you've come to listen, not to conquer. Padme stepped forward, her hands open in a gesture of peace. We've come to understand, Numa. The Galactic Union seeks allies, not subjects. Tell us what troubles your people. Numa's gaze flickered to Anakin, then back to Padme. Your union promises unity, but it looks like an empire from where we stand. Your clones patrol our skies. Your laws dictate our trade. We fought for freedom in the Clone Wars, and we'll fight for it again if we must. Anakin bristled, but Padme's hand on his arm kept him silent. I hear you, she said. The Union isn't perfect. We're rebuilding a galaxy torn apart by war, but we can't do it without voices like yours. Tell me what Ryloth needs. Numa hesitated, then gestured for them to follow. As they walked through Lesu's bustling streets, Padme listened to the Twi'lek's grievances. Heavy taxes to fund Union reconstruction, restrictions on local militias, and rumors that the Union was amassing a fleet to enforce compliance. Anakin's presence drew wary glances, his reputation as a war hero tainted by whispers of his role in the Jedi Purge. At the city's central plaza, Numa stopped before a statue of Cham Syndulla, her mentor, and a hero of the Clone Wars. Cham taught us that freedom is worth any price, she said. If the Union respects that, prove it. Lift the taxes. Disarm your clones. Let Ryloth govern itself. Padme nodded thoughtfully. Self-governance is our goal for all worlds, but the galaxy is still unstable. Separatist remnants, pirates, and warlords threaten the peace. The Union's strength protects us all. Protects or controls? Numa challenged. Before Padme could respond, a blaster shot rang out. Anakin's lightsaber ignited in a blur, deflecting the bolt into the ground. The crowd scattered as a hooded figure darted through the chaos, firing again. Anakin leaped forward, force-pushing the attacker against a wall. The hood fell, revealing a human woman with a separatist insignia on her armor. Death to the Union! She screamed before Anakin disarmed her. Numa's warriors raised their weapons, but Padme stepped between them. Stand down! We need answers, not bodies! The attacker glared unrepentant. You're no better than Palpatine, she spat. The voice of freedom will tear your empire apart. Anakin's grip tightened, but Padme's voice was firm. Take her to the Resolute. We'll find out who sent her. As the Twi'leks watched, wary but curious, Padme turned to Numa. This is why we need unity. Not to control, but to survive. Help us, Numa. Be Ryloth's voice in the Union. Numa's expression softened, but she didn't answer. The seeds of trust had been planted, but the harvest was uncertain. Back aboard the Resolute, the prisoner revealed little under interrogation. She was a mercenary hired by an unknown figure to destabilize Ryloth. Her words echoed the unrest Anakin and Padme had sensed across the galaxy, whispers of rebellion fueled by fear of their power. In their private quarters, Anakin paced, his frustration palpable. This isn't just Ryloth. Someone's orchestrating dissent. The Separatists aren't gone. They're evolving. Padme sat at a desk reviewing reports. Or someone's using their name to sow chaos. The galaxy's still healing Anakin. People are scared. We need to show them we're not the enemy. He stopped, his eyes searching hers. And what if they're right? What if we're building an empire without realizing it? The question hung heavy. Padme rose, crossing to him. We're not Palpatine. We're not the Sith. But we can't ignore the galaxy's pain. Ryloth showed us that. We need to listen, adapt, or we'll lose everything we fought for. Anakin pulled her close, his voice a whisper. I fought for you, for us. I won't let anyone tear that apart. She smiled, but her eyes were troubled. Then we fight together, not just with lightsabers, but with ideas. The galaxy needs to believe in us. As they stood together, the stars outside their viewport seemed to pulse with possibility and peril. The Galactic Union was a beacon of hope, but shadows lingered at its edges. Somewhere a new threat was rising, one that would test the strength of their love and the fragile unity they had forged. The galaxy teetered on the edge of a fragile peace, held together by the vision of Anakin Skywalker and Padmé Amidala. Their Galactic Union promised stability and compassion, a stark contrast to the corruption of the Old Republic and the tyranny of the Sith. Yet beneath the surface, whispers of rebellion grew louder. On Ryloth, a spark of defiance had been lit, and now the embers threatened to ignite a fire that could consume their dream. As the High Chancellor and General of the Union, Padme and Anakin faced a galaxy divided by fear, loyalty, and the shadows of their own past. The Resolute hung in orbit above Ryloth, a radiant sleek hull reflecting the planet's amber glow. In the ship's command center, Anakin Skywalker studied a holographic star charter, his brow furrowed. The mercenaries' attack in Lesu had been no isolated incident. Reports of unrest were flooding in from across the galaxy, sabotage supply lines on Corellia, protests on Mon Cala, and whispers of a shadowy figure rallying dissent under the banner of freedom. The name Voice of Freedom was no longer confined to Ryloth. It was becoming a rallying cry. Padme stood nearby, her fingers tracing the edge of a datapad. Numa agreed to join the Union's advisory council, she said, her voice steady but tired. It's a start, but Ryloth's trust is fragile. If we don't address the galaxy's grievances, more will follow her lead. Anakin turned, his blue eyes sharp. This isn't just about grievances, Padme. Someone's orchestrating this. The mercenary we captured. She wasn't acting alone. Her weapons were separatist grade, modified with tech we haven't seen since the war. Ahsoka Tano, leaning against a console, crossed her arms. Separatist remnants don't have the resources to pull this off. Not after Mustafar. Whoever's behind this has credits, connections, and a grudge. Admiral Yularen, ever the pragmatist, adjusted his cap. Our intelligence suggests a network operating out of the Outer Rim. We've intercepted coded transmissions, but they're encrypted with a cipher we can't crack. Then we go to the source, Anakin said, his tone resolute. The Outer Rim's a breeding ground for trouble. If we hit their operations hard, we'll flush out this voice. Padme's gaze hardened. Anakin, we can't solve this with a show of force. The galaxy's already calling us tyrants. A military crackdown will only fuel the rebellion. He clenched his fist, then relaxed it. You're right. But we can't sit here waiting for the next attack. We need answers. Ahsoka stepped forward, her leku twitching. I might know a place to start. Nar Shaddaa. It's a smuggler's haven crawling with informants. If anyone's funding this network, and the trail will lead through the Hutt worlds. Padme nodded. It's risky, but it's a lead. Ahsoka, you and Anakin will go to Nar Shaddaa. Discreetly. No Union ships, no clones. We can't afford to look like we're invading. Anakin raised an eyebrow. Undercover? You sure you trust me to play nice? Padme smiled, a rare lightness in her eyes. I trust you to come back to me. As the meeting adjourned, Anakin lingered, sensing a disturbance in the Force. It was faint, like a whisper from a forgotten dream, but it carried a weight he couldn't ignore. Something, or someone, was watching them. Nar Shaddaa, the smuggler's moon, was a glittering cesspool of neon and vice. Its towering skyscrapers pulsed with life, from spice dens to gambling halls, all under the watchful eyes of the Hutt cartel. Anakin and Ahsoka, disguised in nondescript cloaks, moved through the crowded streets, their senses sharp. Anakin's lightsaber was hidden beneath his jacket, but his hand never strayed far from it. "This place hasn't changed," Ahsoka muttered, sidestepping a drunken Gamorrean. "It still smells like desperation and bad decisions." Anakin smirked. "Fits right in with our plan, then." Their destination was a cantina called the Black Nebula, a known hub for black market deals. According to Ahsoka's contacts, a slicer named Kale Vortex operated out of the cantina, trading in information no one else could access. If anyone knew the source of the encrypted transmissions, it was him. Inside, the air was thick with smoke and the thrum of music. Aliens of every species bartered, brawled, and schemed. Anakin and Ahsoka slipped into a booth, ordering drinks to blend in. A Twi'lek waitress eyed them suspiciously but said nothing. "Vortex is in the back," Ahsoka whispered, nodding toward a curtained alcove. "He's paranoid, so let me do the talking." Anakin grunted. "Fine, but if he tries anything, I'm not holding back." They approached the alcove where a wiry human with cybernetic implants sat hunched over a datapad. Kale Vortex looked up, his mechanical eye whirring. "You're late," he said, voice raspy, "and you brought muscle, not smart." "We're here for information," Ahsoka said, sliding a credit chit across the table. "Encrypted transmissions, Outer Rim origin, who's sending them?" Vortex pocketed the chit, his lips curling. "You're Union, aren't you? Skywalker's lapdogs. Word is, the galaxy's getting tired of your unity." Anakin's hand twitched, but Ahsoka shot him a warning glance. "We're not here for politics," she said. "Name your price?" Vortex leaned back, smirking. "The transmissions? They're coming from a shadow network. No single source, but the credits? Those flow through a bank on Cato Neimoidia. Someone big is funding this. Someone who hates your bosses." "Who?" Anakin growled, his patience thinning. Vortex's eye gleamed. "You want a name? It'll cost you more than credits. Bring me a data core from the Hutt archives. Then we'll talk." Ahsoka frowned. "The Hutt archives? That's a death sentence." "Take it or leave it," Vortex said, turning back to his datapad. Before Anakin could argue, the cantina erupted in chaos. Blaster fire tore through the air as a squad of armored mercenaries stormed in, their visors marked with a crimson sigil, a stylized flame. "Skywalker!" one shouted. "Surrender, or everyone dies!" Anakin's lightsaber ignited, its blue blade humming. "Wrong move!" he said, deflecting a barrage of bolts. Ahsoka drew her twin sabers, their white blades flashing as she leaped into the fray. The patrons scattered, some drawing weapons to join the chaos. The mercenaries were skilled, their movements coordinated. Anakin Force pushed one into a wall, but another landed a stun bolt that grazed his shoulder. Pain seared through him, but he fought on, cutting through their ranks. Ahsoka covered his flank, her acrobatics a blur. "Vortex!" Anakin shouted, spotting the slicer slipping toward an exit. He reached out with the Force, yanking Vortex back. "You set us up." Vortex sneered. "You're not the only ones paying for answers." Ahsoka knocked Vortex out with a swift elbow, then dragged him to cover. "We need to go, Anakin. More are coming." They fought their way to the street. Vortex slung over Anakin's shoulder. Speeders screamed overhead as Hutt enforcers joined the chaos, drawn by the commotion. Anakin and Ahsoka hijacked a land speeder, weaving through Nar Shaddaw's labyrinthine alleys until they reached their hidden shuttle. Inside, Anakin secured Vortex in binders. "Start talking," he said, his voice low and dangerous. "Who hired those mercenaries?" Vortex spat blood, grinning. "You're out of your depth, Skywalker. The voice of freedom isn't just a person. It's an idea, and it's coming for your empire." Ahsoka's eyes narrowed. "Cato Neimoidia. That's our next stop, isn't it?" Anakin nodded, his mind racing. The Force whispered warnings, but also something else. A flicker of familiarity, like a voice from his past. Whoever was behind this knew him, knew his weaknesses. And they were playing a dangerous game. Back on Coruscant, Padmé faced her own battles. The Galactic Union Senate, a reformed body of planetary representatives, was fracturing. Senators from wealthier core worlds demanded stricter controls on the Outer Rim, while Rim delegates accused the Union of favoritism. Padme's speeches, once a beacon of hope, were met with growing skepticism. In her office, she met with Mon Mothma, a trusted ally from Chandrila. "The Senate is losing faith," Mon Mothma said, her voice calm but firm. "Your reforms are bold, Padme, but they're moving too fast. Planets feel they're losing their identity to the Union." Padme sighed, rubbing her temples. "If we slow down, we risk collapse. The galaxy needs structure, not chaos." Mon Mothma leaned forward. "And it needs trust. The taxes, the clone patrols. They're seen as chains, not shields. You and Anakin are symbols of hope, but symbols can become targets." Padme's thoughts drifted to Anakin somewhere in the Outer Rim. She felt his absence keenly, not just as a partner, but as a reminder of why they fought. "What do you suggest?" she asked. "Transparency," Mon Mothma said. "Open the Union's finances to audit. Reduce military presence on peaceful worlds. Show the galaxy you're listening." Padme nodded, but her comm link chimed before she could respond. Captain Typho's hologram appeared, his face grim. "High Chancellor, we've intercepted a transmission from Cato Neimoidia. It's coded, but it mentions a gathering storm and a strike against Coruscant." Padme's heart sank. "Send the data to the Resolute, and double security around the capital." As Typho signed off, Mon Mothma's expression darkened. "This is what I feared. The galaxy's anger is being weaponized. If you and Anakin don't act swiftly, the Union could fall." Padme stood, her resolve hardening. "Then we'll act, but not with fear, with truth." Cato Neimoidia's mist-shrouded bridges and opulent palaces were a stark contrast to Nar Shaddaw's grit. Anakin and Ahsoka, now posing as traitors, infiltrated the planet's financial district, guided by Vortex's reluctant intel. The Slicer, under threat of Union justice, had revealed that a banking clan official named Lorne Vex was funneling credits to the Shadow Network. The banking clan's headquarters was a fortress of durasteel and glass, guarded by droid sentinels. Anakin and Ahsoka bypassed security with a mix of force tricks and Ahsoka's slicing skills, slipping into Vex's private office. The Neimoidian was there, his robes dripping with wealth, reviewing a hollow display of financial transactions. "Vex," Anakin said, stepping from the shadows, lightsaber unlit but ready. "We need to talk." Vex's eyes widened, but he recovered quickly. "General Skywalker, I'd heard you were sniffing around. The Union's reach is impressive, but you're wasting your time." Ahsoka tossed a data card onto his desk. "We traced your accounts, millions of credits to shadow accounts, funding mercenaries and propaganda. Who's your boss?" Vex laughed, a dry, rattling sound. "You think I'm the mastermind? I'm a facilitator. The voice of freedom pays well, and I don't ask questions." Anakin's patience snapped. He ignited his lightsaber, the blade humming inches from Vex's throat. "I'm done with games. Give me a name." Vex's composure cracked. "I don't know. The orders come through proxies, encrypted channels. But I heard a rumor. A Jedi. Someone who survived your purge." Anakin froze, the Force screaming in his mind. A Jedi? The thought was impossible, yet it resonated with the disturbance he'd felt. Obi-Wan? No, he'd never turn against them, but who else? Before Vex could say more, an explosion rocked the building. Alarms blared as crimson-flagged mercenaries stormed the complex. Anakin and Ahsoka fought back-to-back, their lightsabers carving through the attackers. Vex tried to flee, but Ahsoka tackled him, binding his wrists. "We're taking him to Coruscant," she said, dodging a blaster bolt. "He knows more than he's letting on." Anakin nodded, but his mind was elsewhere. A Jedi. The words echoed, stirring memories of betrayal and loss. As they fought their way to their ship, the Force whispered a warning. The true enemy was closer than he realized. Back on the Resolute, Anakin and Ahsoka interrogated Vex, but the Neimoidian remained tight-lipped. Padme, joining via hologram, urged caution. "We're walking a tightrope," she said. "If we push too hard, we'll alienate more worlds. But if we do nothing, the rebellion grows." Anakin's jaw tightened. "This isn't a rebellion, it's a conspiracy, and it's personal." Padme's eyes softened. "Come home, Anakin, we'll face this together." As the Resolute set course for Coruscant, Anakin stood alone in the observation deck, staring at the stars. The Force was turbulent, filled with echoes of his past, Obi-Wan's teachings, Qui-Gon's faith, and the dark pull of Palpatine's promises. He had chosen Padme, chosen love, but the galaxy seemed determined to test that choice. Ahsoka joined him, her presence a quiet comfort. "You're worried," she said, "about the Jedi rumor." He nodded. "If a Jedi's behind this, it's someone who knows me, someone who thinks they can break me." Ahsoka placed a hand on his shoulder. "They don't know you like I do. You're not the man you were in the Clone Wars. You're stronger, and you're not alone." Anakin managed a faint smile. "Thanks, Snips." But as the stars streaked by, the disturbance in the Force grew stronger. The voice of freedom was out there, pulling strings, and the galaxy was slipping toward chaos. Anakin and Padme's dream of unity hung by a thread, and the shadows of their past were closing in. Coruscant shimmered under a veil of twilight, its endless spires aglow with the pulse of a restless galaxy. The Resolute docked at the Unity Palace's private hangar, and Anakin Skywalker descended the ramp, his cloak billowing. Ahsoka Tano followed, escorting the bound Neimoidian banker Lorn Vex, whose silence during the journey had only deepened Anakin's unease. The Force churned around him, a storm of premonitions he couldn't decipher. A voice, a shadow, a betrayal. Padmé awaited them in the palace's grand atrium, her silver circlet catching the light. Despite the weight of her role as High Chancellor, her presence radiated warmth. She embraced Anakin, her touch grounding him. "You're safe," she whispered, then stepped back, her eyes scanning Ahsoka and Vex. "What did you find?" Anakin's jaw tightened. "Trouble. Vex is funding the rebellion, but he's just a cog. Someone bigger is pulling the strings. Someone who might be a Jedi." Padme's expression faltered, but she recovered quickly. "A Jedi? That's a dangerous claim. The Order is scattered, and those who remain are in hiding." "Or plotting," Anakin said darkly. "Vex mentioned a survivor, someone who knows me." Ahsoka interjected, her voice steady. "We don't have proof yet, but the credit's traced to Cato Neimoidia. Vex's accounts are tied to a network spreading propaganda against the Union. They're calling it the Storm of Freedom." Padme turned to her gaze piercing. "Who do you answer to, Vex?" "Tell us, and you might find leniency." Vex sneered, his voice dripping with contempt. "Leniency? Your Union is a facade, Chancellor. The galaxy sees through your promises. The voice will burn it all down." Anakin stepped forward, his hand twitching toward his lightsaber, but Padme raised a hand. "Take him to holding," she said to Captain Typho, who had joined them. "We'll get answers, but not through fear." As Typho led Vex away, Padme turned to Anakin and Ahsoka. "We're running out of time. The Senate is fracturing, and these attacks are fueling distrust. We need to unmask this voice before the galaxy turns against us." Anakin nodded, but his thoughts were elsewhere. The Force whispered of a presence, familiar, yet twisted. He pushed the feeling aside, focusing on Padme. "What's the Senate's mood?" "Restless," she admitted. Mon Mothma is pushing for transparency, but others want a harder line, more clones, stricter laws. If we don't act decisively, we'll lose them." Ahsoka crossed her arms. "Then we follow the trail. Cato Neimoidia's banking records might give us a name, but it's a fortress world. We'll need a plan." Padme's eyes met Anakin's. "Go together. Take a small team. I'll hold the Senate and keep Coruscant secure." Anakin hesitated, the thought of leaving her again gnawing at him. "If this is a Jedi, they're dangerous. I don't want you here alone." She smiled, touching his cheek. "I'm not alone. I have Typho, Yularen, and half the Union fleet. Go, Anakin, find the truth." He nodded, though the disturbance in the Force lingered like a shadow. Cato Neimoidia's mist-wreathed cities floated among jagged peaks, their opulence a testament to the banking clan's wealth. Anakin, Ahsoka, and a small team of Union operatives, disguised as trade negotiators, landed at a secondary port to avoid scrutiny. Their mission was to infiltrate the banking clan's central vault, where Vex's records were stored. The vault was a labyrinth of security droids, laser grids, and encrypted databanks, but Ahsoka's slicing skills and Anakin's Force prowess gave them an edge. As they navigated the city's suspended bridges, Anakin's senses prickled. "We're being watched," he muttered, scanning the fog. Ahsoka's Lekku twitched. "I feel it too. Keep moving." Their team slipped into a maintenance tunnel beneath the vault, guided by schematics Vortex had provided under duress. The air was thick with the hum of machinery, and the force pulsed with a strange intensity. Anakin's hand rested on his lightsaber, his instincts screaming. Inside the vault, they bypassed the outer defenses, Ahsoka's datapad decrypting locks with practiced ease. The central databank loomed, a towering cylinder of glowing circuits. Ahsoka plugged in, her fingers flying over the interface. "Got it," she said after a tense minute. "Vex's accounts are linked to a shell corporation, but the funds originate from Alderaan." Anakin frowned. "Alderaan? That's Bail Organa's world. He's one of Padme's allies." Ahsoka's eyes narrowed. Or someone's framing him. The transactions are routed through multiple worlds. Mygeeto, Felucia, even Tatooine. This network's bigger than we thought. Before Anakin could respond, the vault's alarms blared. Droid sentinels clanked into view, their blasters charging. "Intruders!" a mechanical voice boomed. "Surrender!" Anakin's lightsaber ignited, its blue blade slicing through the first droid. "Ahsoka, get the data. I'll handle them." Ahsoka nodded, her white sabers flashing as she covered the team. The operatives fired blasters, but the droids were relentless, their numbers swelling. Anakin moved like a tempest, deflecting bolts and crushing droids with the Force. But the disturbance he'd felt earlier grew stronger, coalescing into a presence, dark, familiar, and dangerously close. "Ahsoka, hurry!" he shouted, parrying a barrage. "Almost there!" she called, downloading the last of the data. "Got it. Let's go." As they fought their way to the exit, a new figure emerged from the shadows, a cloaked warrior wielding a red lightsaber. The blade's crimson glow illuminated a face Anakin hadn't seen in years. Ventress, the former Sith assassin turned bounty hunter. "Skywalker," Ventress purred, her voice dripping with malice. "You've been busy building your little empire. Pity it's about to crumble." Anakin's heart raced. "Ventress? You're the voice of freedom?" She laughed, twirling her saber. "Don't flatter yourself. I'm just the messenger. The voice wants you to know your time's running out." Ahsoka stepped beside Anakin, sabers ready. "You're outnumbered, Ventress! Stand down!" Ventress smirked. "Numbers don't matter when you're predictable." She lunged, her blade clashing with Anakin's in a shower of sparks. Ahsoka joined the fray, her dual sabers a blur. Ventress was a whirlwind, her movements fueled by rage and precision. The operatives fired, but she deflected their shots with ease, cutting them down one by one. Anakin fought with controlled fury, his connection to the Force stronger than ever. But Ventress was cunning, exploiting his aggression. She force-pushed Ahsoka into a wall, then aimed a kick at Anakin's chest. He dodged, but her saber grazed his arm, searing his flesh. "You can't save your precious Union," Ventress taunted. "The galaxy's done with heroes." Anakin roared, channeling the Force into a powerful shove that sent Ventress crashing through a console. She recovered, but Ahsoka was back on her feet, pinning Ventress between them. "Last chance," Anakin growled. "Who's the voice?" Ventress grinned, blood trickling from her lip. "You'll meet them soon enough." Before they could press her, an explosion rocked the vault. Ventress used the chaos to slip away, vanishing into the smoke. Anakin cursed, but Ahsoka grabbed his arm. "We have the data. Let's move." They escaped the collapsing vault, barely reaching their ship as banking clan reinforcements arrived. As they blasted off, Anakin's mind raced. Ventress wasn't the mastermind, but her presence confirmed his worst fears. The enemy was someone with deep ties to his past, someone who knew how to exploit his weaknesses. On Coruscant, Padme faced a storm of her own. The Senate chamber buzzed with tension, senators shouting over one another as she called for order. The intercepted transmission about a gathering storm had leaked, fueling panic. Core worlds demanded military action, while Outer Rim delegates accused the Union of fabricating threats to justify control. Mon Mothma stood beside Padme, her calm demeanor a stark contrast to the chaos. "You must address the Alderaan connection," she urged. "If Bail Organa is implicated, it could tear the Senate apart." Padme nodded, stepping to the podium. "Senators," she began, her voice cutting through the noise. "The Galactic Union faces a grave threat, but we will not succumb to fear. We've uncovered evidence of a shadow network funding rebellion. Some transactions traced to Alderaan, but I urge you not to jump to conclusions. Senator Organa has been a steadfast ally." Bail Organa rose, his expression composed but strained. Alderaan stands with the Union. If our world is being used as a conduit, we will investigate and root out the culprits. Murmurs rippled through the chamber, some skeptical, others reassured, but Senator Tinra Pamlu of Terrace stood, her voice sharp. High Chancellor, your assurances ring hollow. The Union's taxes cripple our economies, and your clones patrol our streets. Now you speak of conspiracies, yet offer no proof. How long until you label us all traitors? The chamber erupted, and Padme's heart sank. She raised her hand, silencing the crowd. I hear your concerns. The Union is not your enemy. We will reduce taxes on struggling worlds and scale back clone patrols, but we must stand together, or the chaos of the Clone Wars will return. Her words quelled the worst of the unrest, but the damage was done. As the session adjourned, Padme met Bail in a private alcove. Tell me the truth, Bail. Is Alderaan involved? He shook his head. I swear, Padme, we're loyal. But I've heard rumors, smugglers using Alderaan's ports to move credits. I'll investigate personally. She nodded, trusting him but wary. Be careful, Bail. The galaxy's watching. As he left, Captain Typho approached, his face grim. Chancellor, we've intercepted another transmission. It's fragmented, but it mentions a strike in Coruscant. Soon. Padme's stomach twisted. Alert the fleet, and get me Anakin. The Resolute rendezvoused with a Union outpost in the mid-rim, where Anakin and Ahsoka analyzed the stolen data. The records confirmed a vast network, with funds flowing through multiple worlds, but the true source remained elusive. The mention of a Jedi gnawed at Anakin, stirring memories of the Order's fall. He had spared some Jedi during the Purge, believing they could be redeemed, but now he wondered if that mercy had been a mistake. Ahsoka, studying the data, frowned. The transmissions use a code similar to Jedi wartime protocols. If a Jedi's involved, there's someone who fought in the Clone Wars. Anakin's eyes darkened. That narrows it down. But why target us? The Jedi wanted balance, not chaos. Before Ahsoka could respond, an urgent message from Padme arrived. Anakin activated the hologram, and her image flickered into view. Anakin, we've intercepted a transmission about an imminent attack on Coruscant. You need to return immediately. His heart raced. We're on our way. Stay safe, Padme. As the Resolute jumped to hyperspace, Anakin felt the Force shift, a clarity piercing the storm. The presence he'd sensed wasn't Ventress nor a random Jedi. It was someone closer, someone who had walked beside him in the war. The realization hit like a blaster bolt. Barriss Offee, the former Jedi Padawan who had betrayed the Order, bombing the Jedi Temple in protest of its militarization. She had been imprisoned, but rumors of her escape had surfaced during the Republic's collapse. Ahsoka, he said, his voice low. It's Barriss. She's the voice of freedom. Ahsoka's eyes widened. Barriss! She turned against the Jedi, but why target the Union? She saw the Jedi as corrupt, Anakin said. Maybe she sees us the same way. A new empire built on the ashes of the old. Ahsoka's expression hardened. If it's her, she's dangerous, and she knows how to hurt you. Anakin nodded, his resolve steeling. Then we end this. For Padme. For the Union. Coruscant was a fortress, its skies patrolled by Union cruisers, its streets guarded by clones. But as the Resolute emerged from hyperspace, chaos greeted them. A fleet of mismatched ships, smuggler vessels, modified freighters, and separatist-era droid carriers attacked the planet's defenses. The crimson flame sigil marked their hulls, a symbol of the storm of freedom. Anakin took command of the Resolute's bridge, barking orders as Ahsoka coordinated fighters. Focus on their command ship, he said, pointing to a heavily armed frigate. That's where Barriss will be. Padme's voice crackled over the comm. Anakin, they've breached the lower districts. We're evacuating the Senate, but I'm staying to coordinate defenses. Padme, get to safety! He shouted. I'm the High Chancellor, she replied, her tone firm. I won't abandon my post. The battle raged, Union ships clashing with the rebel fleet. Anakin piloted a fighter, leading a squadron to the enemy frigate. Ahsoka flew beside him, their ships weaving through laser fire. The Force guided his hands, but the weight of Barriss's betrayal pressed on him. She had been Ahsoka's friend, a Jedi who questioned the Order's path. Now she was a shadow of that ideal, twisted by her own crusade. They boarded the frigate, cutting through droid defenses. In the command center, Barriss awaited, her green skin pale under the harsh lights. Her lightsaber, now red, hummed in her hand. "Skywalker," she said, her voice calm but laced with venom. "You've become everything you swore to destroy." Anakin ignited his saber. "You're one to talk, Barriss. The Jedi failed, but you're not saving the galaxy. You're tearing it apart." Ahsoka stepped forward, her sabers unlit. "Barriss, stop this. We can find another way." Barriss's eyes flickered with pain, but her resolve held. "The Union is a lie. You and Padme claim to bring peace, but you rule through fear. I'll free the galaxy, even if it means destroying you." She attacked, her saber clashing with Anakin's. Ahsoka joined the fight, her movements a plea for redemption. Barriss was skilled, her rage fueling her strikes, but Anakin and Ahsoka fought as one, their bond unbreakable. The command center sparked and smoked as their blades carved through consoles. Anakin disarmed Barriss, pinning her against a wall with the Force. "It's over," he said. "Tell your fleet to stand down." Barriss laughed, a hollow sound. "You think this ends with me? The storm of freedom is bigger than one person. The galaxy will rise." Before Anakin could respond, the frigate shuddered, hit by Union fire. Ahsoka grabbed Barriss, dragging her to an escape pod. "We're taking her to Coruscant," she said. "She'll face justice." As they launched, Anakin watched the battle unfold. The rebel fleet was faltering, but the damage was done. Coruscant's lower districts burned, and the Senate's trust was shattered. The Union had survived, but at what cost? The Unity Palace stood resolute against Coruscant's dawn, its spires gleaming despite the smoke still rising from the lower districts. Inside, Anakin Skywalker and Padmé Amidala convened a war council in the Grand Chamber, their faces etched with exhaustion but unyielding resolve. Ahsoka Tano stood nearby, her leku still as she watched Barriss, Offie, now bound in energy cuffs, brought before them. Captain Typho, Admiral Yularen, and Mon Mothma flanked the room, representing the Union's military and diplomatic arms. The air was thick with tension, the weight of the galaxy's future pressing down. Padme, regal in her chancellor's robes, addressed Barriss first. "You led the storm of freedom, sowing chaos in the name of liberty. Your fleet is scattered, your network exposed. Speak now. Why did you turn against us?" Barriss's green eyes, once bright with idealism, were cold but unwavering. "You call it chaos, Chancellor. I call it awakening. Your Union promises unity but delivers control. Clones patrol our worlds. Taxes choke our economies. And your husband's blade silences dissent. I fought to free the galaxy from your empire." Anakin's hand twitched toward his lightsaber, but Padme's steady gaze held him back. "The Union isn't perfect," she said. "We've made mistakes, but we've also ended the Clone Wars, rebuilt worlds, and given planets a voice. Your rebellion has cost lives, Barriss. Was that your freedom?" Barriss's lips curled. "Freedom demands sacrifice. The Jedi failed because they clung to dogma. You fail because you cling to power. The galaxy will rise again, with or without me." Ahsoka stepped forward, her voice soft but firm. "Barriss, you were my friend. You saw the Jedi's flaws, but this isn't the answer. Help us rebuild, not destroy." Barriss met Ahsoka's gaze, a flicker of regret passing over her face. "It's too late for that, Ahsoka. The storm lives in every heart that doubts you." Anakin's patience snapped. "Enough riddles! Your network's crumbling! Name your allies or you'll face justice alone." Barriss laughed, a hollow sound. "You still don't see it, Skywalker. The storm isn't a network. It's an idea. You can't kill it with a lightsaber." Padme raised a hand, silencing the room. "Take her to holding. We'll decide her fate later. For now, we focus on healing the galaxy." As Typho escorted Barriss away, Mon Mothma spoke. "Her words resonate, Chancellor. The Senate is fractured, and worlds are questioning your leadership. Barriss may be in chains, but her message lingers." Padme nodded, her expression resolute. "Then we change the narrative. We show the galaxy what the Union stands for. Not control, but hope." Anakin's eyes met hers, a silent promise passing between them. The battle wasn't over, but they would face it together. The Senate chamber was a crucible of emotions as Padme took the podium, her silver circlet glinting under the lights. Senators from across the galaxy filled the tiers. their voices a cacophony of fear, anger, and hope. The siege had shaken their faith, and Barris's propaganda had fanned the flames of doubt. Padmé knew that this was her last chance to unify them. "Senators," she began, her voice clear and commanding, "the Galactic Union has faced its darkest hour. The storm of freedom sought to divide us, exploiting our fears. But we are stronger than fear. We are a galaxy of diverse worlds, bound by a shared dream of peace." Senator Tinra Pamlo of Taurus stood, her tone sharp. "Peace. Your clones brought war to our streets. Your taxes starve our people. Why should we trust you?" Murmurs of agreement rippled through the chamber. Padmé held her ground. "You're right to question. The Union has leaned too heavily on strength, and for that I apologize. Effective immediately, we will have reconstruction taxes on Outer Rim worlds and withdraw clone garrisons from peaceful planets. The Union is not your master. It is your partner." Bail Organa rose, his voice steady. "Alderaan stands with the Chancellor. The storm exploited our ports, but we've rooted out their agents, so let us rebuild trust together." The chamber quieted, some senators nodding, others skeptical. Mon Mothma stepped forward, her presence calming. "Chancellor Amidala's reforms are a start, but trust requires transparency. I propose an independent council to oversee Union policies, ensuring no world is silenced." Padmé nodded. "I support the proposal. The Union will be accountable to you, the people." The vote was close, but the council was approved, a fragile victory. As the session ended, Padmé felt a flicker of hope. The Senate was bruised but intact, and the galaxy had a chance to heal. That night, Anakin stood on the Unity Palace balcony, the Coruscant skyline a tapestry of light and shadow. The Force was calmer now, but a lingering unease gnawed at him. Barris's words echoed in his mind. The storm is an idea. He had fought for Padmé, for their dream, but the cost. Jedi lives, worlds in turmoil, his own soul, haunted him. Padmé joined him, her gown replaced by a simple tunic. "You're troubled," she said, slipping her hand into his. He sighed, his voice low. "Barris wasn't wrong about me. I've killed Padmé, Jedi, Separatists, anyone who threatened us. What if I'm the reason the galaxy doubts us?" She turned him to face her, her eyes fierce. "You're not a monster, Anakin. You're a man who loves, who fights for what he believes in. Yes, you've made mistakes. We both have. But we're building something better, something worth the pain." He pulled her close, his voice a whisper. "I'd burn the galaxy for you." She smiled, but her eyes were sad. "I know. That's why I fight to keep you grounded. We're not just rulers, Anakin. We're a family." The words stirred something in him. A vision of their twins, Luke and Leia, safe on Naboo with Padmé's family. They had kept their children hidden, a secret to protect them from enemies. But the galaxy was watching, and secrets had a way of unraveling. The next morning, Padmé and Anakin addressed the galaxy via holo transmission, their image broadcast to every world. Standing side by side, they spoke not as rulers, but as partners. "The Galactic Union is not an empire," Padmé said, her voice resonant. "It is a promise of peace, justice, and opportunity. We've heard your voices, your fears, and we're listening. Together we will rebuild." Anakin stepped forward, his presence commanding. "The storm of freedom sought to divide us, but we are stronger united. I've fought for this galaxy, and I'll fight for it still, not with a lightsaber, but with hope." The transmission ended, and reports soon flooded in. Worlds like Ryloth and Moncala pledged renewed support, inspired by the Union's reforms. The Senate stabilized, bolstered by Mon Mothma's counsel. Barris, tried publicly, was sentenced to exile rather than death, a gesture of mercy that quelled some dissent. But the storm's embers lingered. On distant worlds, graffiti of the Crimson Flame appeared, a reminder that ideas could not be chained. Anakin and Ahsoka tracked remnant cells, their missions a quiet war against chaos. Padmé, meanwhile, worked tirelessly, her diplomacy weaving the galaxy's threads back together. Months later, Anakin and Padmé stood on Naboo, their children playing in the meadows under the watchful eyes of Sola, Padmé's sister. The galaxy was not yet whole, but it was healing. The Union had become a tapestry of compromise, its strength drawn from its flaws. Anakin knelt beside Luke, ruffling his hair. "You'll see the stars one day, little one." Padmé, holding Leia, smiled. "They'll see a better galaxy, Anakin, because of us." He rose, taking her hand. The Force was clear now, a melody of balance. The shadows of their past, Jedi, Sith, rebellion, had tested them, but love had prevailed. Yet as they watched the sunset, Anakin felt a faint ripple, a whisper of challenges yet to come. The galaxy was vast, and destiny was never still. For now, they stood together, a family, a beacon. The Galactic Union was their legacy, imperfect but enduring. And in the stars above, the promise of unity shone bright, a light against the darkness. In a hidden enclave on Tatooine, a hooded figure watched the Union's broadcast, the crimson flame sigil etched on their armor. "They think it's over," they murmured, a datapad glowing with coded messages. But the storm is just beginning. The galaxy turned, its fate unwritten as the shadows of unity waited to rise again.